Hi, everybody. I just finished doing a reading for a client, and it is just so rewarding to show people that our loved ones, no matter how long ago they passed, are still part of our lives. So another life changed by the evidence. Today in our get together, you're going to see a pre-recorded part of one of my monthly connection webinars. It's going to talk about the connections and the web that I learned about from a young man named Michael Wolf-Passakarnis. I know you'll enjoy all the teaching that I have there, but I'm so excited because the reason I'm not doing this live today with you all is because I'm preparing to take Wolf's message in documentary form on the road, 12,000 miles around the US. You can find out more about that at wolfsmessage.com and even see the trailer. And I'm allowed to announce now that this movie has already been selected for the Illuminate Film Festival in Santa Barbara. Director Jim Spruill, Wolf's dad, Mike Passakarnis, and I will be there in California when they show Wolf's message at the festival. And even though only friends and family have seen it so far, it's so affirming to us that those involved in the theater and the theater arts have selected Wolf's message for this consciousness-raising film festival. It's exactly the kind of audience this film is made for. So yay for that. Well, enjoy the connections you'll hear about today. And I'll be back with some more exciting podcasts in the weeks to come. Of course, we'll do more Q&As, but I do have a couple of guests coming up. One of those is the very well-known channeler Lee Harris. I know you'll enjoy that one. And I'm also going to be interviewing soon Freddie Silva. He has a book called Portals, part of the Sacred Stories publications that my book Mediumship is part of. Freddie and I are both going to be speaking at a conference in Atlanta in June called Expand. You can find out more about that on my website under featured events on the homepage. But I find his work absolutely fascinating. I've had my own experiences of feeling various locations around the world where you are more connected because of the refined energy there. So that's going to be an exciting one. So if you haven't already subscribed to my site, click subscribe and click that bell so you get notified of upcoming podcasts. But for now, enjoy this special broadcast. Here's the deep teaching that I promised you for this evening. It just was a huge aha for me into the nature of reality and oneness. And we talked earlier about Wolf from my book Wolf's Message, this young man who, by the way, was killed by a lightning strike the same way my stepdaughter Susan was. Her birthday was yesterday, by the way. Happy birthday, Susan. Wolf passed by lightning strike, came back to share with us many truths about who we are as humans and souls at the same time. In his reading for his parents, he showed me himself pointing at his head and saying, "It was very busy in here. I walked in two worlds at once." And his parents said he used to make that motion. They have a photo of him pointing right at his temple, and he used to say, "It's very busy in here." So ever since I met Wolf, which is, wow, maybe 2010, 2012, 2012, I think. Since I met him in the spirit world, I've been saying we walk in two worlds at once. And my guides showed me this past month, yes, you can say that, but it's like saying the sun rises and the sun sets. That really, we know the sun doesn't rise and set. It only appears that way from our perspective. And this is the key point this evening. There are not two worlds. And those two worlds from our human perspective is physical world and non-physical world. We call it the spirit world because they don't have a physical body, but they often tell us their bodies seem as solid to them as ours seem to us here. So when we stop saying the physical world and the non-physical world and realize that we all arise from one field of consciousness, one
0-point field, one sea of consciousness, there is only one world. But there are many realities that arise from that same world. But to differentiate it from our point of view between the physical world and the non-physical world often makes it seem that our loved ones are farther away from us or in some place where we can't reach them, when actually it's one world. Somebody put in the chat box, the seen and the unseen. Well, that's also a nod to the physical world, because we can see things that they put in our eyes from their world. We can see things with the soul senses as well. So again, it's just the biggest lesson in how our language limits us. So my whole point in bringing this up, and as we move forward with this little teaching here, is to ask you to try to envision one field of consciousness. And here's our reality, which is more limited than the reality of those in the reality that comes after we no longer have a body, no longer are aware of a body. What do I mean by more limited? Each successive reality that our souls go through beyond this one has less rules. And a rule would be, for example, in this physical world, we have gravity, so we can't levitate, we can't fly on our own. We have time that unfolds linearly, past, present, and future. We deal with cause and effect that takes a while to be seen, what the effect of some causes is. So this earthly realm is highly limited, but that makes it an incredible place to learn and grow, especially when we don't instantly see the results of our actions. It also keeps us from realizing how interconnected we all are. So the more limited, the more challenging. Let's call it the astral realm, where we go when we transition out of our bodies, is much less limited, as those who come back to tell us about it show us. They don't worry about gravity. Their sense of time is completely different from ours. They don't have a sense of time. They can fly. They think about someplace, they're instantly there. They can bilocate, trilocate, and beyond, as Brenda has shown us, as several souls across the veil have shown me by talking to me and someone else at the exact same time with evidence. The angelic realm, which is not a place because there really is only one world, it's a different limitation of consciousness with different rules. The angelic realm is even less limited. They can influence greater spheres, different realms, greater numbers of people in those different realms, and so on, higher and higher. So thinking of there only being two worlds, the physical world and the non-physical world, that really limits us, because we think it's us and everybody else, those in the spirit world, the astral realm, the angelic realm, the archangel realm, when it's really just less limitations, greater perspective, and greater ability to interact. So perhaps a more accurate way of describing the difference is modes of perception. Within this physical realm, see, I just go right back into the way that we talk, but we have to use these constructs to explain how things work. We call it the physical realm because we perceive through the instruments of this body, which is actually not physical when you break it down. Atoms are not, they're the basic building block of creation, and yet atoms are not solid. Isn't that mind-boggling? So we call it the physical world because we see through eyes that we think are physical, and we hear through ears, etc. We touch and we think that's physical. So what I recommend is, if you're going to shift your focus, as I've mentioned doing several times this evening, like with psychometry, if you're going to hold an object, shift from human mode to the expanded soul's mode. Think of it as shifting out of 5 sensory perception to multisensory perception. I'm trying to find different words to use every time that I do this, but full sensory perception. So if you're going back to the psychometry as an example, if you're holding a pen that used to belong to someone, we're not going to be tuning into just how it feels in the hand or what it looks like. We make that shift to, I am a multisensory being. What am I sensing? And you might see images that pertain exactly to the person that owned it. You might hear thoughts that belong to them. You might know things about them. Just like that, by shifting from 5 senses to full senses, you have shifted out of only human mode. So just notice how when we say there are 2 different worlds, they're not. The greater reality is right here. All of the realities interpenetrate each other, just more or less limited modes of perception and being. Brenda added on some teaching to this, and I had her specific words she had for me. She says, you don't need eyes to see because it is all right here in consciousness. This is what I've been telling you, she said. And I said, where here? Where are you? And she said, in awareness. And here's a great question for all of us from our dear Brenda. Are you using your eyes when you dream? That kind of gives you one of these duh moments. You're not using your physical eyes in dreams, yet things are so clear. I said to her, aha, good one. She says, are you hearing each other in your dream with ears? It only appears that way. Appearances lie, just like the sun rising and the sun setting. It is all just here in awareness. In awareness, that's the key. So she says, don't think of it as stepping into another reality or like stepping into a theater, because there's nowhere to step out of. It's all just here, the awareness theater. So I love that. I promised you a new analogy to understand how the different realms relate, and it's lessons from a carpet is what I call this. And it goes back to that class that I just taught in Pittsburgh. My mind is always being snagged, thanks to my team, by new ways to explain to you how we are all interconnected. And on a break in the class teaching these concepts, I'm walking down the hall and I looked down and I was snagged by the carpeting in the hotel. And I looked at it and the guide said, this is how it works, right here. So I pull out my phone and I take a picture of the carpet then and there and turned it into this slide that I'm going to share with you. And I hope it makes it very clear what they're trying to show us. Here is the carpet in the hotel. And what the guides showed us as a way to understand, I'm going to use my cursor and I think you can see it. Notice how I'm drawing with my cursor this hexagon here with a dark line. And the hexagons in the dark line would represent individual fields of awareness, individual beings of light, you and me, in the human realm, the human, earthly, in a body realm. I'm not allowed to call it the physical world. Okay? Now look a little deeper and you can see hexagons made of blue, kind of spongy blue hexagons here. You see all those? The guide said, think of that as individual fields of being in the realm that follows this earthly realm. So we would call that the spirit world, the astral realm. Notice how they're all overlapping. Then they said, look at these larger shapes here. Why don't we call that the angelic realm? And these little arms kind of look like they're reaching out and helping more, having more of an effect. And they said that, you notice it's all one carpet. It's all just here. Yet these, in this case, here's another one of those big angel fields over here. In this case, we have 3 realms being represented, but you could see you could overlay a bunch of other realms. Maybe this gold part under here that covers all of it could be the archangelic realm. So how we're all interconnected is our thoughts resonate with others. Our consciousness flows out and interconnects us. So say here in this realm, this is me, and over here is Candace Blair, this field right here. She has a thought of Suzanne Giesemann, and her field starts vibrating. Oh my gosh, vibrating. It vibrated so much I canceled out the screen. Her field vibrates with the thought of me, and I over here go into coherence with that vibration. Think of a tuning fork. If you hold a tuning fork by a piano and strike the fork, the string on the piano that is in the same, that resonates with that fork, will vibrate. It's the same thing here. If you think of somebody, that is a specific tone, like a note on a piano, and if it's your note, you will vibrate. You pick up on it. You see? So Candace thinks of me, I pick up on that thought, boom, we're connected. We didn't have to move. There's only here. Now here I am, and I suddenly think of my stepdaughter Susan, who perhaps is represented by this blue spongy thing in the astral realm over here. And because she recognizes her note, her tone, as I strike that tuning fork of my thoughts of her, she resonates, picks up on it. We have activated that connection between us, and we're talking because she is right here. There's only here. That's there. We call this the physical world only because we perceive through senses of a body that we call physical. We call this the non-physical world only because they're sensing with full senses. But we can sense with our full senses at any time and tune into all that arises from this one field, including, of course, the angels and the archangels at the higher level and the entire field itself. I hope I explained that in a way that makes sense to all of you. It's so exciting to me. It may seem really obvious, but this is all designed just to share with all of you that I don't want you to limit your connection with others because you think they're no longer in physical form. The physical senses limit our awareness of them, but you are not limited to your physical senses as shown by your dream state. Dream state is just a different state of consciousness with less rules than we have when we're in the normal waking human state. Choose the state of consciousness that goes with the realm your loved one is in. The less limited state of the astral realm, shift into full sensory perception and enjoy interacting with them. Your thoughts set up a resonance with them. They pick up on the thoughts and say, oh, there's my mom thinking of me. I'll just connect with her right now and we'll have a conversation. We've done exercise in these sessions where I asked you all to shift your focus to your limitless expanded state as a soul and send out a message to someone you know to call you, contact you, email you in some way, text you, but that they would pick up on your energy just to show you how connected we all are. Some of you may have seen the post I made on Facebook earlier this week that it absolutely works in reverse. The more sensitive you become, the more you notice your thoughts. So Ty and I were sitting at dinner in between bites. We're just having a normal conversation about whatever it was when suddenly I became aware of my friend Candace Blair. She's a beautiful energy and sound healer and yoga instructor, and she helped me at my retreat this past summer at Unity Village. There's Candace. I can't tell you if I heard her thoughts, if I saw her face. I just had this instantaneous knowing of Candace. It was so out of the blue in that moment. I knew Candace had just thought of me. This is what I want to train you all to get used to. If you're in the middle of anything else and a loved one pops into your mind in spirit, they're thinking of you. It's that juxtaposition of I wasn't thinking of them. There's no reason for me to. And this happens if someone you know who's still in physical form, same thing. I was so sure of it. And the guide said, because we wanted you to make this point right now, that I said, give me a second, honey. And right in the middle of dinner, the phone was off to my right. I picked it up. I texted Candace and it said, hey, Candace, I just picked up on you thinking of me right now. Notice how I didn't say, were you just thinking of me? I was sure. Seconds later, and Candace always has her phone off. She never answers. Seconds later, she goes, oh my God, just this moment I made a note. I need to reach out to Suzanne. It's been too long. Oh my goodness. Who needs a phone? So see, she didn't just have the thought. It was amplified by her making a note. And because we've interacted in the past, my energy field resonated with, went into coherence with her field. That's how it works. So here's your homework. Pay attention when someone pops into your mind, whether they're in the spirit world or here, when you were in the middle of doing something totally unrelated to them. Reach out to them no matter where they are. Send your love back to them. If they're here in physical form, give them a call. Send them an email. If they're not in physical form, send them so much love and a hug and thank them for giving you a call.